to Hacking the Workforce, the podcast that gives talent leaders a platform to discuss their companies and the reason that you should consider a career working for them. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to have Melissa Davies, the head of people and talent for KeyData Cyber, the global consultancy specializing in identity and access management. Melissa, absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. How are you? How's business? How's everything over in Canada?
Oh, I'm great. Everything is going well. I mean, we're really busy right now. We've experienced a ton of growth over the last 6 to 12 months. And so our recruiting team is hard at work. So I'm certainly happy to be speaking with you today.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully we can drive some real good talent towards you and the business. Obviously, I know you recruit globally, so I'm sure I've got a lot of people that will be plugging in and keen to see everything that is KeyData and whether they fit into the organization and what you're looking for. So I suppose if we dive straight in, the first question that obviously I know it's key for a lot of people, whether it's sales and GTM or tech when they're considering a new role in the minute, is company culture. So please elaborate, tell everyone out there the company culture at KeyData and everything about the business.
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. I mean, our team really drives to make sure that the people that work here love to work here. And, one of the biggest things is we're a remote first, people powered company. And I think that's really appealing. And we're seeing the changes in the market where people are moving back to either hybrid or full time in the office.
Yeah.
And, in the industry that we're in, we've got really talented individuals all over, Canada, the US, India. And so having that remote first work culture allows us to be able to have people work for us all over.
Yeah.
Also part of working here is really having a company that's collaborative, and everyone that works here is curious and purpose driven. Our team really supports each other in everything they do, whether you're working as a consultant with a client, whether you're on the operations team, you're in marketing, people, whatever you're doing at the organization, we work together to accomplish one goal, which is the success of our organization. And so we celebrate wins, big or small. And we do a really fun activity at our town halls where Dustin, our CEO, will ring the win bell. And it's this really loud cowbell that, really, but it's a great symbolism into, celebrating those wins as a team because we accomplish what we can as an entire organization. And so we really want to make sure that with a remote first work culture, that everyone is still connected and has a sense of belonging at our organization. Yeah. And so our culture, again, really focused on collaborating, working together, all towards sort of the same goal. And of course, genuinely enjoying what you do and having a little bit of fun while you do it.
Fantastic. I think, obviously remote working is sort of one of the questions that I wanted to discuss with you. I suppose we might as well go into it now because, as you quite rightly highlighted, a lot of companies out there at the minute seem to be sort of trying to drive a hybrid model, a weekly hybrid model, or even trying to get people back into the office. Obviously, remote first is fantastic because I know there's a lot of people out there that post sort of pandemic have really wanted to be more sort of, family orientated and have that sort of flexibility, that work-life balance. So that's great that you are remote first. Is there any opportunities for people out there that might want to be more hybrid or work in an office? Is that something that business is looking to implement in the future, or is that something that you currently offer at present? What's sort of the take on the business?
Yeah, so we're really proudly remote first. I mean, even before the pandemic, which really did change, my own personal work life, everyone in the entire world. But KeyData as an organization has always been remote first. And Fantastic. So it's genuinely built into how we operate, what we do. But we have a really, really nice office in Toronto. And so if someone is local to the GTA and wants to go hang out at our office, it's fully stacked with snacks and drinks. It's in a really nice area in downtown Toronto. So there's lots of access to restaurants and shops and really accessible by transit. So we do have the flexibility if someone does want to work in the office. They've got a full setup workstation, but really to us, the flexibility is really at the core of how we work. So it's
Fantastic.
about outcomes. It's about, when the work gets done or where it gets done. It's really just about the outcomes of the work being done.
Fantastic. Excellent. No, that's absolutely amazing to know. Like I said, I do know there's some people out there that are probably a bit fed up of the four walls of being at home and do like to get into an office every now and then. But yeah, remote working still seems to be very much that driver. So the fact that you are remote first is really cool. I think I love the bit about the community and dusting and ringing the bell. But one of the things that I'm quite keen to understand is, obviously, with it being remote working first, obviously the culture side, there are people out there that love working from home, that they don't need sort of to have that team interaction. But how do you sort of go around making sure that people do feel part of the organization and the team, and making sure everyone is integrated when they first join the business? How do you sort of mix the two and make sure everyone's satisfied and happy?
Yeah, it's a really fine balance. I think working remotely, you can feel really isolated.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of a really important initiative that we do here, which is to focus on sort of monthly events that are completely not work related, that are either virtual or hybrid. Virtual or in person. And it just gives people an opportunity to connect and do something that is outside of the day to day, especially in consulting. A lot of times you're not even just remote, but you're also project specific. So you're only working with a small set of individuals on a daily basis. And so these social events allow people to connect, have some laughs. Last year we did an event. This one is a memorable one for me, but we hosted an internal KeyData Cyber Family Feud, and we had people team up, and I wore a mustache and played Steve Harvey. And it was, it's a really small event, but it was really impactful. It gave people the opportunity to connect. Through our onboarding process as well, of course, we assign an onboarding buddy who's not your manager, who's not HR, who's simply in a really similar function to you, that can provide you guidance, a shoulder to lean on if you need. And so we really want to make sure that we're creating all of these different connections for our employees, so they do truly feel connected, even if they're not talking to us every day. We also have a really great internal company-wide chat where there's lots of really fun, heated debates about things going on in the cyber market. Maybe it's an update on a key data policy. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate anniversaries. And so, again, we really try to facilitate these communication opportunities for people so that we're creating connections outside of just the, day-to-day grind of project work.
Fantastic. That's absolutely amazing. Well, hopefully that'll give people an idea of, the type of culture that's been instilled in the business, and obviously what the future is hopefully looking like culture-wise as well. I suppose from a talent perspective, obviously I know you and your team obviously cover the sales and GTM space and the tech space, obviously, recruiting engineers and all analysts as well. What makes a good candidate for KeyData? What's the type of experience that you're looking for? And I suppose more importantly for people out there, do you only look for people that have specific identity access management experience within your sort of specific partners that you work closely with, or do you look for people that have cybersecurity or tech experience but with transferable skills? So what makes a good and successful candidate for you, Melissa?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think if we talk about our delivery services team, which is our client-facing project team, we are really focused on the technical capabilities, right? Like, these people need to be able to execute on the project deliverables. They need to have experience with the technologies, with the processes. So those are going to be individuals with specific technical experience. And they could also be in a variety of technologies if it's transferable, if they have a knack for learning new tech, or even if they are currently learning something new.
Yeah.
When we're talking about our operations or our SG&A team, identity experience isn't necessarily a requirement. Obviously, understanding identity and the cyberspace is really advantageous to be successful, because you're not going to have that burden to learn it and then be able to execute it.
Yeah.
And actually, my personal journey was, I didn't come from cyber or identity when I
Yeah.
joined KeyData. And I was recruiting for these highly technical, like niche roles, and I took it upon myself to learn the industry to be able
Yeah.
to successfully drive that. So it's completely possible. I think from an overall perspective, outside of the technical capabilities, we're really looking for people that are demonstrating core values that we hold, which is integrity, innovative thinking, customer service excellence, really commitment to like a welcoming and inclusive team, and then just honestly general teamwork. Being team focused is really important.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to ask thoughtful questions and be client focused, and really show a passion for what we do,
Yeah.
right? You can't work in cybersecurity and not be passionate about it. It's just not, it's not possible. So
No.
I think, someone with all of this is really going to bring that entrepreneurial spirit, that really je ne sais quoi, the real stars of the show are really going to demonstrate sort of all of this alongside their technical capabilities.
Fantastic. No, it's just some companies out there are very specific, and they will turn around to me and the team and say, we only want someone with identity or privileged access management or AppSec, DevSec, whatever it is. So the fact that you're as a business, you're open to taking people with that transferable skill and that are able to bring those skills to the business and learn quickly and develop. I suppose from a sales and GTM perspective, it's having the experience on product is probably not as essential, but obviously from a tech perspective, if you've got someone that has that identity experience and a specific vendor that you partner with, obviously they're gonna hit the ground running. I suppose when it comes to resumes, obviously I know at the minute all companies are inundated with huge volumes of applications, especially from a tech side. For people out there that are interested and want to apply, what is it that you look for in a resume, and how are you and your team sort of managing that process and making sure that the candidate experience is there, you are getting back to people? How are you managing that? And like I said, what should people be putting in a resume to make sure it stands out for the business, Melissa?
Yeah, no, great question. I think when it comes to volume applications, I don't think there is really a magic wand or a magic answer. It truly is just, grinding through, reading through everybody's application. And one of the things that the talent acquisition team prides themselves on is really providing that human touch. We don't have an AI in our interview process. We really focus on making sure that we're reading everyone's resumes, understanding their current skills, what they're looking to go to, what could be transferable. And our team is quite literally doing this with every single application. I think one of the biggest focus points over the last 3 years, especially in the competitive industry that is IAM or in cyber, it's a really competitive market for talent. And so for us, it's really important that every single person that interviews with us or applies to us receives feedback, receives a response from us to let them know that if they're moving forward or not moving forward through the process, because we want people to leave even without a job offer with a really good experience.
Exactly, yeah.
And so that's really, really important. And we have a variety of mechanisms internally that we use to make sure that we're giving and prioritizing that. But I do have to say our recruiting team is really, really focused on building those relationships in the cyber industry. And so it's important that, they meet those SLAs in getting back to people. From a resume perspective, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and you've probably seen this in the cyber industry, is these sort of really long paragraphs of information. And of course, we want to hear all about what people have done, but it can become pretty strenuous to read through
Yeah.
all of these resumes. And so my biggest advice would be to create these clear, concise formatting with really impact-driven bullet points, right?
Yeah.
And, highlighting those relevant certifications are really important. But I also want to see project outcomes. What did you
Yeah.
build? What did you improve? What upgrades? What did you secure? And I mean, one of the things I've not seen that often, but I really love to see is, what are you excited to learn next? What are
Yeah.
you doing to continue to grow your skills or your knowledge
Yeah.
in the cyber industry? Because it changes every day.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've done a technology for the last 3 years, it probably looks a lot different than it did 3 years ago. And what's it going to look like in 3 years? So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, what are you doing to continue your education, and what are you continuing to keep your learning up within the industry? And I think that's easily highlighted on a resume.
100%. I totally get it. I always tell everybody that are technical to yeah, put your certs on there and your interests. And, someone who's in a technical role tends to be very passionate about the industry. Not that the sales and GTM people aren't, but, from a sales and GTM space, put your figures on there. Make sure people know the successes you've had, the industries and verticals that you sold into. And obviously for you from a consultancy, I suppose that the tech people putting in there the types of customers that they've worked with, because you might have a big project with a bank, for example. If someone's already worked within a bank, they've got an understanding, an idea of, the constraints that obviously is needed when working with one of those types of companies. I suppose just from a business point of view, and obviously you mentioned the fact that you want people to show that they're interested in constantly trying to learn new things and obviously improve their own skill sets. I suppose as a business, what does KeyData offer, the employees within the business around sort of training, certification, courses, that ongoing sort of nurturing and development? What does the business offer? Anything on that side?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, 2 years ago, we were really focused on this, and how can we support our employees to keep up to trend and up to
Yeah.
date with what's going on in the industry? I mean, ultimately, we're a people-driven business, and so we need to make sure that the people are also keeping up to date. And so we implemented sort of an unlimited tech partner training.
Wow.
And
Okay.
what that means is that we will pay for any certification or any training course for our entire organization, whether you're in delivery or not. So if you're a recruiter and we have a new technology, you could take the sales course to learn a little bit about what it works, right? And I
That's good.
encourage our team to do that,
Yeah.
because it's pretty hard to talk to, an engineer about a specific technology if you really don't understand it. And
Yeah.
so, but this learning and development really allowed anyone at the organization to take any training courses or certifications through our tech partners that they're interested in, either learning, upskilling, whatever it may be, and we'll cover it. We'll cover the cost. And that was really, really important to us because, of course, the number one focus is providing growth and development opportunities for our employees, and then also making sure that we are able to have our employees work on new and innovative technologies within those partners. And so this was a pretty successful initiative. We've seen actually a lot more of our employees taking advantage of these technical certifications and courses, and it's been nothing but advantageous for the
Fantastic.
business and for the employees.
That's brilliant. And again, I suppose it goes hand in hand with retention of talent. And, constantly companies are talking about, not just my clients, but other companies talking about, attrition rates and losing top talent and, not giving people the challenge that they want, but also those training courses and certifications. People are wanting to improve, and some companies out there don't offer it. And the fact that you offer not an unlimited sort of resource pool, but you're giving people the opportunity to say, yeah, look, we'll pay for you to do that. And obviously you've got an abundance of partners that are willing to do that as well. Great tick box. Obviously it really does get people interested, and especially when they can work on different projects and pull in different experiences and expertise across different areas. So that's great. Regarding sort of the cyber talent gap, I suppose there's a lot of stuff out there at the minute. A lot of people saying, is it a myth? Does it exist? Does it not exist? I suppose we've kind of covered it in the fact that, you do offer that training. You do sort of bring in people from different industries and different experiences in order to train them up. Is there anything else in particular that KeyData are looking to sort of close that cyber talent gap and get more people into the industry? Is there anything in particular, universities, internships, etc.? Melissa.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a topical conversation. Yeah. I think, we do a few different things. And so from a recruiting and people program, I guess we could say that we mentor newcomers, especially in Canada. And so myself, I'm really involved in partnership and development of newcomers in Canada through different programs that are run by the, local organizations funded by the Canadian government to really give opportunities to underrepresented talent.
Yeah.
So I think this is one way. Internally, we really focus on the reskilling and upskilling of our team members across these different technologies. We also have a sort of underground culture of mentorship where we really try to take more junior employees and have them work with more senior employees to really continue to do that knowledge sharing. And then hopefully, in 5 years, they'll turn around and do the same thing. And so internally, we try to do that. From an external perspective, I think, we've partnered with local universities, whether in Toronto or across Canada, to talk a little bit about careers in cyber. Hey, this is what it looks like. This is where you can go. This is what you need. We recently partnered with a university to participate in an interview workshop where it was people in the tech industry that were practicing interviewing because they're about to graduate and they're about to get out into the workforce. And so we don't have an internship program currently, but we are doing everything we can to give back to the community and really encourage, those recent grads to join us over in the cyberspace to really help bridge that gap, because the industry is not getting any smaller. It's getting a lot bigger. And I think it's really great long-term opportunities, especially for new and new graduates coming into the employment market.
That's excellent. No, I love the community stuff. I think it's great. I think more companies should do it. Like you said, offering guidance and support, whether it is interview techniques or just a glimpse into the industry, and get more people in and obviously make it more accessible. I think that's the key thing. Sort of leading into that is sort of where do you see sort of the hiring challenges within cybersecurity over the next 3 to 5 years? Is there any sort of particular areas that you think there's going to be serious challenges, or what's your thoughts around that, Melissa?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research on this, and sort of if someone was in my position 5 years ago, what would they have said, right? And what did they do, or what have we done? I think the biggest hiring challenges is really going to be demand outweighing supply, or outpacing the supply, right?
Yeah.
So especially for these sort of mid-level IAM professionals with both hands-on and client-facing skills, I mean, we're already seeing it being such a competitive market for talent that you can see this trending, right? Maybe not 5 years ago, but now, because the industry is blown up, we are going to see this demand outpacing the supply.
Yeah.
I think we're also going to potentially see this tech stack fragmentation, where we're kind of requiring people to constantly reskill because the technologies are changing so quickly. And so, it's really trying to keep the workforce up with the changes, but then maybe we're not having as many people continue to evolve and change. And then I think as the IAM industry has changed so significantly over the last even 5 years, It's going to be keeping up with compliance demands, really,
Mm.
as business accelerate these digital transformations and the move from on-prem to cloud. And
Yeah.
this, we're really going to see this becoming, a challenge for organizations to keep up with.
Yeah, fantastic. No, great points. I think a couple of things is specifically around sort of the continuous development of talent. And like you said, I know from working with a number of consultancies, they're sort of moving away from needing people that are just very, very good on the keyboard, but actually having that interactive ability to be able to go out and be customer facing. I think that's sort of another development that's clearly going to need to be there. But like you said, cybersecurity, identity, it's blowing up at the minute. There's so many different incidents and sort of ransomware attacks happening that there's no doubt about it. Companies have got to accept that they need to invest, they need to get involved, and it's definitely going to outstrip obviously the potential that's out there. So I think again, going into the talent gap, getting people in and developing and training them that have those transferable skills again could be a major option. One of the things I'm really keen to have a chat with you about, and this is very much talent related to you and your team, and I've sort of come across this 12 months ago or so, the first time ever in my recruiting sort of career, is around sort of fraudulent resumes and identity theft. It's a real big issue, especially with artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and all that sort of stuff. At the minute, people faking interviews, deep fake interviews. Have you, and it seems to be quite prevalent within the identity space. So have you come across anything like this at the minute? What are you and your team sort of coming across, and how are you trying to sort of mitigate those risks with that?
Yeah, this is a hot topic of conversation. And even internally, it's, I've been in recruiting for almost 15 years,
Yeah.
or around recruiting for 15 years, and I had never seen anything like this.
No.
And about a year or two ago here at KeyData, we started to see this sort of trend of feedback, primarily at the technical interview, where what they were saying was completely different than the interview. And we're
Yeah.
thinking, like, how can there be such a strong disconnect? And so we started mandating having cameras on
Yeah.
during interview processes, right? Then I can see you, I can see what you're doing, I can
Yeah.
see how you're responding. And what we started to see was the amount of what we call proxying,
Yeah.
where there are, someone is interviewing with you, but there's someone responding on their behalf and they're just sort of moving along with the
Yeah.
motions. And when I first heard about this, I kind of giggled about it. I'm like, no way, right? Like, no way. But now we're
Yeah.
seeing it even more frequently in our recruiting process, to the point where almost, like a good majority of those preliminary interviews, we don't move forward. And it's
Yeah.
because we're like, we can see that they're typing, they're generating their responses. You can see that they're not genuinely having a conversation with you or describing their experience. It's almost like AI is reading
Yeah.
their response to us. And so we really tried to strengthen our vetting process with multiple verification steps, really educating not only the talent team, but also the broader technical interviewers and leadership team to really, hey, these are the flags, trust your gut as an interviewer. You want to make sure that, of course, you're not implying bias in the interview process.
Yeah.
But, those instincts and those red flags need to be accounted for.
Yeah.
And so, although it's been a really growing concern, and with speaking with other talent leaders, they're having a little bit more of a challenge in making sure that those people are vetted out.
Yeah.
And we're not really seeing that challenge beyond sort of the interview process, because we've heard
Yeah.
of companies, they're working for them and they realize it's not the same
Yeah.
person, right? It's just,
Yeah.
it's completely different. But I think this is also one of the downsides of remote work, right? It's
Yeah.
a lot easier to impersonate someone or impersonate a skill set or a role virtually than it is to walk into an office and sit down and speak with someone. So It is definitely a challenge. We work through it every single day. But I think one of the things and one of the notes I will say to candidates is, although preparing and making sure that your, answers are clear and concise doesn't always come across as genuine. And it's really much better to speak to your experience. We're interviewing you because of your technical capabilities or because of your experience. I want to hear it from how you describe it. If you read it, it just comes across as disingenuous. And so I would say, yeah, recruiting right now, the amount of sort of these fraudulent resumes is very prevalent. But with some of these mechanisms, we've been able to at least eliminate a majority of that through going through the whole process.
Yeah. I think speaking with sort of a number of sort of sales leaders, they can tell when something has been run through, ChatGPT. Same with sort of the CISOs and things. You can tell when a resume is not legitimate. There's certain things missing. I think you need to put personability into a document like that. It's selling yourself. I think you can very easily tell when something is fake. I think the rise of sort of things like Siri and these bots that listen in to conversations and give people, the ideal answer or the next sort of hint on what to discuss next. That seems to be something that has been implemented. I know I've sort of told the team to look out for any sort of breaks in conversations or any delays in conversations. Clearly someone's then, researching, relaying, trying to have a look at something. And I know I've told certain customers to look out for that as well. That seems to be something that's coming up constantly. I suppose one of the last things that I wanted to obviously just cover with you is, obviously we've covered volume of applications, we've covered the types of people that are successful at KeyData and what you look for. What's the easiest way for somebody who watches this podcast and thinks, yeah, KeyData, the culture sounds great, love the remote working, love the certifications and the support that they give, love the community feel and that sort of family side of the business. How I want to apply? How do I apply? What's the easiest way for me to get in touch with Melissa and the team? So what's the easiest way for them to make your life easier as well, Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to say first thing you should do is go to the careers page. I mean, that's your direct access to what we're actually recruiting for. Send in an application. One of the other great things that we have is if you listen to this and you think, wow, this company is the best company and I want to work here, but you go to the website and you're like, man, there's no jobs for my skill set. We have a really great program called KeyData's Talent Pool. Ooh. And what the talent pool is it's a portal where the recruiters will drop resumes. Let's say if someone we interviewed, not quite the right fit for this role, but could be for this. And this is where we sort of organize people that are interested in our organization. Yeah. And so if you're interested in a job with us, you don't see something posted, drop an application into the talent pool. And it becomes available for the recruiters to search internally when we're looking to fill roles. I would also say you should connect with the recruiting team on LinkedIn. All of us are very, very active on the platform. Reach out to us. Let us know that you're interested. One thing I would say, which happens quite frequently, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, Damien, I'm sure this happens to you all the time, where you get a message from candidates, hey, this is my skill set. I'm interested in a role. Can you tell me if you have any jobs available? Yeah. I think that's probably the worst way you can connect with a 100%. Recruiter. Yeah. So I think if you go to the website, you don't see a job, you drop your resume in the talent pool, and then you connect with me or Rena or Drita or anyone else that you see at KeyData and say, hey, listen, I'm interested in your organization, didn't see a role available, but drop my resume, would love to connect. That's going to definitely offer up a much more appetite for a conversation. I would say LinkedIn is our number one connection platform with candidates. And so you can find us there.
Fantastic. What about the website directly? Is the website directly a good idea as well, rather than just sort of LinkedIn? Like you said, having a look at the other areas of the business that could perhaps be of interest.
Yeah, you can connect on KeyData.ca. You can check out what we do, our leadership team, read a bit about our blogs and our case studies, and our marketing team has a robust amount of information on there that you can look through. You can check out our careers page. You can send us an email at jobs@keydata.ca if you're interested in connecting with us. But the website is a great platform for learning a lot more about our organization.
Fantastic. And I suppose lastly, while I've got you, is there anything in particular that you really need at this moment in time? Is there any particular skill set that you're crying out for? And if someone's got this, please apply.
You know what? I think the leaders will laugh when they hear this, but literally every skill set. Right now, we have been on an absolute insane hiring growth. We are almost 150% more hires already this year than we saw last year for the entire year. And so we're growing significantly. So if you've got experience across IGA, PAM, access management, if you're interested in consulting, assessments, even our managed services team is looking for support engineers. So if you're not an experienced developer, but you want tech, you've got tech experience, we'll take you over there. I think basically everything. So if you're interested, send me a message because we probably have a role available for you.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, look, there you go, everybody. If you're interested, if you've got any of the skills that Melissa and the team are looking for, get in touch with KeyData, have a chat, send over your resume, make sure it's relevant, and get involved in the business. So I suppose last things from me, Melissa, absolute pleasure having time with you. Really appreciate your time over the last couple of weeks. It's been great to connect, and hopefully we can work together and collaborate to drive better talent towards KeyData. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Damien. It was a pleasure speaking with you.